Coming up on Verse Course Verse, it's time to justify our existence to everyone. Let's do it.
The sun would set and we would come alive. We could go all night.
You're justified.
I love that show. Little Raylan Givens. Anybody else here a Timothy Oliphant fan?
Yeah.
Fucking love Timothy Oliphant.
Big fan.
Do you know him, Rachel?
Love him.
Yeah, Deadwood.
Also that. He's the same character.
Basically, yes. Which is brilliant. Welcome to episode 154 of Verse Course Verse. I am DL. With me is Evil J.I.D. Jimmy Evil. How you doing tonight?
Fucking A.
Fucking A, bro.
Fucking A, bro. Fucking A. I'm here to
I don't know where to go with that.
chew bubblegum and kick ass.
You're all out of ass kickings. You know how you sometimes have those... Actually, that's rude. Before I get into this, there's somebody else here that goes by the name of Rachel Rosalia Polio. Rachel, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to drink on a school night.
Fuck yeah.
Let's
me
get
too.
lit.
You gotta roll your R's when you say that shit.
Rosalia.
It's
When
Rachel.
American white people start trying to do the instead of the S, like the Barcelona.
No,
It
I
just-
don't do that.
To be
it's
fair, that's a
terrible.
different kind of
It's
Spanish. So it is with the...
Making me like you so much more right now, Rachel.
I didn't know you could like me more, David.
Anyway, what I was going to say, Evil, the movie you just referenced, you know how there are some things in life where you never see anything about it for like 15 years and then all of a sudden it's everywhere?
Yeah.
That movie, I swear, that movie's everywhere
Really?
right now. I don't know if it's like an anniversary or something like that, but
When did it come out? 88 maybe? Roddy Piper, baby.
R.I.P., man. He was the greatest.
Roddy Piper was the shit.
Who's your favorite wrestler of all time, Evil?
Yeah. Oof.
Would Roddy be in the running?
Roddy's up there.
What about you, Rach?
Probably
You seem
Flair.
like
Oh, gosh.
you seem like an Undertaker type.
Yep. Love Undertakers.
the
Undertaking?
Undertakers.
Undertaking things. Real fast. English pubs and taverns from the 17th century, bartenders would keep watch over their pints and quarts consumed by patrons, telling them to mind their P's and Q's.
Was that before the episode started or after?
Before.
Happy content, everybody. You know how many episodes we have left to record after this one before the finale?
Zero. Wait,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
One more. one more. I have it written down. I promise it so I don't have to think.
Oh, boy.
One more.
Mind your P's and querets.
Yeah. Come on, Rach.
Mind my whiteboard.
Not much left to do this season. Sorry, everybody. I'm being a little quiet and boring tonight. I'm in a hotel room. The desk is kind of against the wall, so I'm just waiting for that big bang of shut the fuck
What
up.
time is it? Where you're at?
Oh, it's...
Where are you at?
8:30. Kansas City. It's the...
Oh, I knew that.
Look, they got some crazy little women here, and I'm gonna get me one. Yeah, Kansas City, and I already had a little bit of barbecue. I'm feeling pretty good. What are we doing here tonight? So we're starting something new that we're gonna do every year. In the finale, we all vote together on the top 10 albums of all time. That's wrong. It's not of all time.
You idiot.
The top 10 albums of that year. And we don't really touch on it after that. And it felt weird. For me, there's a little bit of like, wait, that's it? We're not going to fucking, they're just gone now?
Yeah, we do move on quickly.
Love them and leave them. But one of these in particular.
Ric
for
Flair,
me-
by the way. That's styling, profiling,
jet flying,
limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling, dealing. Son of a gun. I'm having a hard time keeping these alligators down. Woo!
So what we decided to do is we've decided to have one episode at the end of every year to talk about our top 3 albums of the previous year. Rachel,
Yep.
had these 3 stayed in your playlists the year, or was this like going back to something, or was it
Yes. Yes and no, because there's 3 on here, right? So I have to say one definitely just came up all the time because of what I already listened to. But I do have to say that all 3 of these were in my heart. So these were in our top 10. So these were the best of the best of last year. Definitely stuff that I remembered, even if I wasn't actively
Yeah.
listening.
When we started this podcast, if you would have told me that our 3 best albums of a specific year were basically going to be 3 modern hip-hoppy albums, it's kind of fucking weird, especially you and I being the biggest outliers, but all 3 of these albums kind of fucking rule, right? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
We'll see.
I kind of like
Remember,
it.
Svend helped vote on these. So he influenced the top numbers on these.
He did, but at least 2 out of 3 of these, all 3 of us loved last year.
Yes. That
He's had to
yeah.
think about it.
Yeah,
Math's hard.
let's get to the most important part of the night. Evil, you look like you have something yummy.
I do. I'm
Just
drinking
going for it.
Balvenie 12-year Doublewood
How mu-
Scotch.
Did you just buy that?
No,
I'm
it's
thinking of a different one. Rachel, what are you drinking?
I have a Frappuccino.
vodka and
I
fry
have a
sauce.
Frappuccino and I have some Malibu. Mix them together.
All right.
Double chocolate chip Frappuccino. So it's like a chocolate milkshake. And put some coconut rum on top of it.
Coconut.
What
It's going to be delicious.
What are you waiting for?
Get it.
I needed it to melt a little because I put it in the freezer waiting for you jabronis to finish work.
What is the drink that has 151 and Malibu in it? What's it
Malibu
called?
Yow?
Oh, damn, that's good.
No,
That's not
I have to look it up now.
151 and Malibu. I'm trying to think of what the name would be.
I'm going to ask a dumb question, being a grown up. What's 151?
Well,
It's called a Caribou Lou.
oh, that's a good name.
It'll get you fucked up in a hurry.
So,
Malibu is 151 proof rum.
Oh.
no, it isn't.
No, that's wrong. That's
I
false.
was like, doesn't seem like it.
Bacardi 151 is 151 proof
Oh.
rum.
There are many 151 proof alcohols, but for some reason, when you say 151, it's Bacardi. Everybody knows you're talking about Bacardi. I am drinking a beer, and since I am, what's it called, past the St. Louis, what's St. Louis called? The Gate of the West or whatever?
Sure.
Since I'm beyond that, I'm drinking a Yinling. Shout out to Svend, who...
He
this
loves
is-
those.
Yeah, he really does, but he never gets them in your face.
Suck it at Knutsen.
A little intense,
Lord.
but sure, why not? I mean,
hard
if
into the
you're
paint.
into that,
Poor Sven.
yeah, we got 3 albums to talk about. Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
We will
let's do,
be
let's do
right
these 3
back.
albums.
Hey, everybody, we're back. Hey, Rachel,
Hey, David.
what was our 3rd best album last year?
Our third best album of 2022 was JID's Forever Story.
It sure was.
This was his 3rd studio album, released on August 26, 2022 through Dreamville and Interscope. It was released as a sequel to The Never Story, which was actually his 2017 album.
I did not know that until studying for this, actually.
Same.
Yeah. This album is very personal, kind of an origin story. There's a lot of his childhood growing up. One of the reasons why this is one of my favorite, he's just one of my favorite rappers, is because he's very intelligent in the way he writes. He has a way of saying fucking bitches getting money in a very intelligent way that doesn't sound like he's saying he's fucking bitches and getting money.
Yeah, he's very self-aware.
It doesn't come off as bragging. It comes off as this is how it is, but not in a look at me, this is how it is sort of way. This hit number 12 on the Billboard 200, Metacritic 83 out of 100. All Music was like 4.5 stars. It Pitchfork 7.3 out of 10. Pretty well reviewed.
Yeah. Out of these 3, for me, JID was the one that I basically forgot about after last year. And I
During the year?
I didn't listen to it at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Then I put it back on to study for this a couple weeks ago, and fuck, man.
Did you fall back in love?
Yes. It's so good. It's so good.
It's so good.
It really is. It gets you from the very beginning. He's got some really, really cool, almost weird samples that he chooses to put in here.
Yeah.
It is very much a modern hip hop album in that there's fucking 12 writers and producers on every song,
Yeah.
which,
I think the minimum was 3 producers
yeah,
on one song.
But there's something to be said for the art of these guys that have the ability. I did a lot of stuff this year on Tupac. You know, you have other artists. The only one that's coming up to in my head, and I pick on her all the time, but oh well, is Lizzo. So I'm just going to pick on her again.
Okay.
You have artists where it doesn't work and artists where it does. And it took me a while to just figure out that I think it's just the rapper. You can put JID on any song and he's going to make it work. We just did Tech 9, who I love. Tech 9's fucking amazing. But that album is a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
It feels like they just went in the studio and they were like, hey, we need a song. Let's do a song. This album feels like JID must have had a hand in everything because it does flow. It flows really well.
Well, and the writing is so thoughtful and so intelligent. Everything is so well written that it's not just, there's no way that this can be slapped together. It's literal poetry.
Evil, I know that when we first talked about this, you and your family was pretty into it.
Yep.
Did this stay on the playlist?
It did. For a while, the kids are 11 and 14. So this is ancient history to them at this point because time is dilated very differently for them. But
Right.
it was like, I would say even through this past summer, it was in regular rotation. This is probably my favorite hip hop album in as long as I can remember.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. There was good hip hop last year. There was a couple albums by Billy Woods that were really good. If you're
Right.
into that
Yeah.
like, jazzier stuff, the Conway, Denzel Curry was
Denzel.
badass. But this is my favorite of them. It's quirky and weird. Did I like draw parallels with this one in Gorillaz last year? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
There are like some vocalizations and some weird shit. He just does some weird shit, and it feels very Gorillaz-ish in spots. He's so
see that.
smart, and his vocalizations. I love how the tracks are put together. Lots of layers. I dig this album a bunch.
I love that he feels the weight of responsibility of there's a lot of acknowledgement in this album of getting rich for something like rapping. A lot of acknowledgement of I make poetry for a living and I make millions of dollars.
Yep.
If I'm not great, if I don't put all the work into this, then I suck. There's a lot of that in this that you can tell that he really does understand and is grateful for the position he's in. To what you were saying, Rachel, about the bitches and hoes, there is that, but there's a lot of self-awareness of it's ridiculous that I'm in this position just because I'm good at writing poetry.
Right. I watched an interview. It doesn't matter why, but I watched an interview
Because you were studying?
because I was studying.
Cool.
I was trying to figure out within the album, he's referred to as JID a couple times. And I was like, holy fuck, is it not JID? Like, have we white idiots been saying his name wrong? And so I was like, if I find an interview, I can figure out. And the interviewer flopped back and forth and nobody got corrected. So I was like, all right, obviously we can. But it was an interview with him at I guess his grandmother passed away and he bought the land and like the 100 acres around the property because he wanted to like keep it in the family or whatever. This journalist that interviewed them, his folks, and like 8 of his like aunts, cousins, brothers, sisters. And one of the things that they talked about was, I guess he was doing football and then I don't know if he got injured or just didn't want to do it. And then his dad was saying he just found this talent in rapping, and his mom's like, yeah, he's always been a wordsmith, he's just good. And so it seems like it's not what he initially wanted to do, but something he fell into. And then with that, like you said, just really fucking appreciates that he was able to do something and do it so well, so easily.
Yeah. A lot of that probably stems from the fact that, and he talks about it in this album, that, his parents were really, really tough on him and his siblings. But at the same time, compared to a lot of these other rappers, he did have parents there telling him what to do. And therein you get the work ethic. And not that all the other rappers didn't have the same work ethic, but a lot of that work ethic with people like Tupac or Biggie, the work ethic ends up being selling crack in the inner city.
That was another thing that came up in the interview was his dad talking about like, he wanted to discipline and teach his children in a way that he didn't feel he had when he was a kid. The fact that both of his parents are so active in his life still.
And his siblings. I think that's a massive deal too.
Like I said, there were like 10 people at the interview just hanging out.
Fucking moochers. He has what, it's like 6 siblings?
Yeah. because the song was like seven.
Crack
was the
sandwich.
Crack sandwich. It was 7 kids fighting as a family. Such a beautiful song.
Which-
I really, really like that song.
There are implications in that song that maybe his parents were a little abusive, but all that did was make his siblings and him fucking super tight.
Yeah.
That song is so amazing. Like, that whole song is basically just about his siblings getting in a fight for each other. I'll tell you something about this album. I could listen to this album doing anything. Working out, jogging, cleaning. Like, this album is ready wear at all times.
There is a thread of seriousness through it, but it's also fun. It's like just fun to listen to. I enjoy this album a lot. The point that you guys were making, his work ethic, you can tell that he appreciates what he's doing. He's enjoying this process and he's like putting everything into it.
Did you guys watch the Tiny Desk concert?
I did not.
Listeners, go watch that. It's awesome. There's the very obvious stuff. We don't need to have another, this is a unique perspective on Black America conversation because we're all white.
Right.
So, but it's cool. It gives you insight.
I was just going to say something I hated about this.
The unique perspective of being Black in America.
100%. What I hated about this was, I said earlier, it doesn't scream bitches and hoes and fucking, whatever. But so I watched Surround Sound, the video. It's basically cars and women dancing. And I was super disappointed because I wanted something more out of the video. And because I had just finished writing, like, this guy is he's so great. He doesn't need to scream what he's doing. But then the video was just...
A lot of this album is him admitting that, like, yeah,
right.
I'm rich now and I like cars and I like women. And
But it was in such an in-your-face way that I was just really disappointed. I just wanted more.
Counterpoint, though, and this is something that is a real struggle for people in general. There are very few rappers that have found this really good balance between not getting rid of what helped them thrive and survive in the first place.
Sure.
In a place like inner city Atlanta. And keeping their masculinity, but also not being ashamed to be vulnerable in their rap.
I mean, it's a delicate balance.
It's refreshing because there are very few. It's like him and maybe 2 others that have this shit figured out, where you can be a little vulnerable, still masculine, and you don't have to fucking give up the ghost on one way or the other. You can work out and be smart, right, Evil?
No.
Evil, don't
It's one or the other. Return to monkey.
Yeah. Did either of you think this was a little bit preachy
In what way?
for being also kind of give me my money? I think there were just a few times in it where I felt like this guy really does just think he's a really great guy.
I mean,
You're a musician. You're not a great guy, man.
yikes.
That's the rules.
Well, he's admittedly not a great guy.
I think one of the best places to stand to criticize from is from within. And him being inside of things, it gives him a different perspective. I'll give him some grace there on that.
That's well put, actually. I don't have too much more on this myself. The whole surround sound Aretha Franklin sample, the production's amazing. The strings on System them. Outcast on this album. I think it's great. Rachel, the Demographic Award, who is this album for?
I think after really studying this album and studying him as a person, it seemed like it was for him and for his family. It didn't seem like it was made for anyone out there because it's such a personal origin story.
I said pretty much the same thing. I don't think it was for anyone because I don't think you write an album like this if you're just trying to
Impress people or sell albums.
Exactly.
I think it's for way more than just him and his family because everybody in my house fucking loves it. We all love it.
That's just
I
luck.
mean, this is a broadly loved album, whether by accident or purposeful. He wrote my favorite, like I said, my favorite hip hop album of the last who knows how many years.
That's awesome.
And kind of going back and researching this group of 3 albums, a lot of people say it's the best hip hop album of last year.
That's true. I'm going to go right back to you, Evil, with the John Paul Jones Award.
This might be the stupidest thing I've ever said. I want to hear Primus cover Radar.
Oh, fuck yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know if him like collaborating with them, but I want to hear them. I've been
little,
listening
like,
to Primus lately. Yeah.
Decca Neon Brown sample at the beginning. And
Yes.
I can hear Les doing the like radar, sonar, solar beam.
Yeah. It would be amazing.
I will go next. I said less features. I don't need the features on this. Keep Lil Wayne and Bey, because that's kind of, oh, look, this guy's arrived. Yeah, get rid of the other features. You don't need it, man. You're good on your own. I think I stole Rachel's.
I said I may take off some of the features. And my reasoning was not because I didn't like them, but because this is his story and not all these people were there. It doesn't make sense in my head to invite them.
I like that.
That, my friends, could be considered foreshadowing.
New award for this. Who Dey, Still Got It, or Sold. So, explaining quickly to the listeners.
And to us, please.
Who Dey, that means you need to hear more from this artist before you figure out if you like him or not. Still Got It is basically, hey, I've known this guy. I've loved this guy. Or Sold. First time hearing, we're probably all the same.
Who Dey? Just kidding. Sold, obviously. I still want to listen to his other albums.
The EP for
A sequel to The Never Story. Yeah, Sold from last year.
Yeah, Sold. Really excited
Evil's
for
Naughty.
his next album.
Yeah,
so is,
very sold.
So is Evil.
I feel differently from Rachel here. I don't know if I want to listen to previous stuff because this is so good.
Yeah, I kind of feel the
I'm
same.
more interested in what he does next.
Okay.
Fine Wine or Skunk Beer. Like I said, I had kind of forgotten about this album. I didn't listen to it. I went back to it, turned it on a couple weeks ago, and just immediately was like, fuck yeah. And I even, I listened to it a bunch of times in different ways. It's amazing on shuffle. Put it on a playlist. It's amazing on a playlist. Every song hits you differently. You don't get a lot of the same hip hop production that you're getting from all these other artists. There's weird synth stuff in it. Find something different every time you listen to it.
I agree. Fine Wine. I like that you said you put it on shuffle because I did the same thing and it's a completely different experience. Yeah. That's, I think, where I picked up the Gorillaz vibe because the beats and it's just so quirky. It is. Yeah, I think that's listening to Primus. So
good for you. That's a good life right there. Rachel?
Copy paste. Fine Wine.
Where is the bias? I'll answer this first just in case you two don't know what the fuck that means. This is a band that you already liked, so you're kind of forcing yourself to like it. Or, per example, society is calling this guy the new genius, so you're expecting it to be... I am saying zero bias. I didn't know anything about this guy the first time that we put it on our quickfire or whatever. I knew nothing about this guy. It just started popping up everywhere on social media. So I said, sure, let's just throw it on there.
Absolutely the same. I knew nothing about him before we listened to this album.
Zero expectations.
I love being caught off guard by something that is enjoyable.
Same.
Here's a hard one then. Because we loved it so much. Rachel, what's the worst song on this album?
The least good song. I just picked Better Days. It was the least entertaining for me out of the bunch.
Evil is vigorously nodding his head in agreement.
Same. Especially that late in the album, it brings the energy down a little bit.
Yeah.
On Shuffle, to your point, Dale, on Shuffle, that's the one that kind of catches me off guard.
So I was similar in my thought process. This song kind of slows everything down. It's also just like straight up 90s R&B, which I'm just not into. Can't make you change.
Sure.
It's slow R&B, but going to the best song on the album, I am saying Crack Sandwich. After some more time of listening, it's old school gangster rap eeriness. I love there's a DMX shout out in there. Gonna bring it to you. Better be quick. If you're gonna shout out DMX, you already are sold. Rachel, what about you?
I also picked Crack Sandwich. I liked the song after really listening to the lyrics and reading the lyrics. I just found a warm place in my heart.
I like surround sound a lot. I really like
great.
Dance Now, but Radar that's the song that
We all knew that.
probably the most play in our house from this
I
album.
feel like Evil likes Radar.
Very first listen to this, I remember that, we have a penalty flag at the 30-yard line. I'm like, I'm fucking sold. That is so like quirky and creative, and I fucking love it. It's such a good track.
Hey, that's our third best album of 2022. Allegedly. Let's get to the album that I have a feeling Evil has a problem with. I sure as shit don't. It is our second best album of 2022, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers by the Kendrick Lamar. Released in May of 2022, actually. Genre is conscious hip hop. It is a cool,
Sure.
crisp 73 minutes. I'm going to pull a lot of similarities to what we just talked about in JID's The Forever Story. This is very much a concept album. It is basically telling the story of Kendrick Lamar in two parts, becoming basically the god of rap, the Messiah that he was anointed, and doing the things that somebody like that would do, and then going to counseling, having all the shit happen with his wife, sort of improving. This album is now officially platinum, so congratulations to Kendrick Lamar. Didn't take very long. Evil, you said something that I loved last year when we talked about this album. Rachel and I we just jumped on its dick immediately. Whereas you said, look, you appreciate it. You love about half of it. You don't understand the other half, and you don't think you're supposed to understand it. I loved that take. It's one of my favorite takes ever on this podcast. Has this album changed for you at all after restudying or putting it away for a while?
I hadn't touched it until picking it up again to kind of revisit it for this episode. First listen, I was just like, oh, fuck. It's like just bounced off. It's so obtuse. It drags. It bores me. It feels disjointed and all over the place. And my first, I was like, this is fucking garbage. I'm just going to call these guys out on this bullshit and just tell them that they thought this was going to be good because he's supposed to be genius.
Uh-oh.
And I later looked at other stuff. I'm like, well, he is genius. I'm like, all right, I'm going to dive into this.
You're going to dive into this?
Here's my take. This is like avant-garde hip hop. Mm-hmm. It is unlike other music because this to me feels, and I'm not alone in this. I did a lot of perusing on the interwebs to see what people think of this today. I saw this recurring sentiment of there's very little replayability. It reminds me more of a really good movie that you watch once and then never want to watch again. It's like a Schindler's List. There's genius in it, but I don't fucking want to listen to it. I don't know if this is because we're used to that with movies, but we expect music to have replayability. That's just like a cultural thing. I'm kind of jumping ahead into the where's the bias award. This is art for sure. He's genius for sure. There's really interesting stuff in there for sure. I don't know if it's good music, but I also don't know if that's because I have a preconceived notion of what music should be.
That's all very fair. Speaking to what you're saying, which is, it's a little bit different to me, but there's a regard there that's very similar. And that is that this isn't just music to me. This is a daunting project. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've covered this now. We covered this at the end of last year. I covered it in YouTube, and now we're covering it again. And every time I have to pull this out, there is a bit of fuck, here we go. It's much like sitting down, and I know this is going to sound to people that are saying that the brilliance is overplayed. To me, it is like sitting down, like you said, with a super complex movie or like fucking Shakespeare, and you're having to look at every single line and be like, what the fuck is he saying right here?
Yeah.
So it's true. I can't just put this album on. I don't just put this album on, but goddamn if I don't respect it way more than anything that I've heard in the last couple of years. Rachel, how you feeling?
I'm just really sad right now.
Why?
I want to be friends with Evil.
Oh. I thought his take was good.
It's really difficult. I get where you're coming from, and maybe it's because I'm a masochist. I like having to do the work. Like you said, if you're reading something by an author you don't super understand, like Shakespeare, and you're having to look up every sentence, it gets a little tiresome after a while.
Totally.
But after you understand it and then you reread that paragraph or re-listen to that song, you're like, wow, that really is amazing. That man is an artist. And he thinks on a different plane than everyone else does.
One thing that speaks to what he was going for in this is the fact that there's no fucking bangers on this album. You can put a song on the radio because it's Kendrick Lamar and people will listen, but there is not a radio-friendly song on this album.
No.
Interesting you say that. As part of my process, I'm like, okay, I admittedly don't know much about Kendrick Lamar as an artist. So I'm like, let me go listen to some of his other stuff to verify that this guy is a genius. I look in Spotify, the top albums, this is his most recent album. None of them are in there. So I view this album more like a a movie or a play, or it's a performance.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a music album. It feels like something different.
Sure.
It's like it's like slam poetry on vinyl, or
How dare you? Well, and also, like, how often do you hear a fucking rap concept album?
Yeah.
right.
Like, who's ready for
Right.
that? You
Yeah.
know what I
Well,
mean?
and who wants to put in the work for that? I think that's why I appreciate this so much. Jesus Christ. Like, how much work did you put into this? This was not something that was slapped together. Like, everything is so fucking thoughtful. Every story, every lyric,
It
every
really
bit
is.
of this.
One of my favorite things about this album, and he does it in 2 different songs, including like N95 is one of them, is he talks about how shitty famous people are,
Right.
including him. They get to do everything. And then gradually within these 2 songs, he points it right back to us and he says, you know who makes us like this? You all do. You anoint us this shit. We get famous, you give us everything. The concept of, yeah, I'm a piece of shit. You made me this piece of shit. What am I supposed to do? Not take the money?
Yeah.
Fuck you. You know, I love that. I think that's fucking awesome.
I wanted to make a point, but then it broke down, which made me laugh. This project is his vision. It's like his artistic statement. I copy and paste all of the credits into a spreadsheet, and there's 123 people credited on this album.
Yeah.
Right.
24 of them have producer credits. And I'm
Yeah.
like, but then I do JID, and there's 134 listed. I'm like, all right,
Right.
well, that blows that out of the water.
I think that's just how it works nowadays.
I agree. The third album, which we haven't talked about yet, 84 people credited. And there's a shitload of producers on it too. So, and these are our top 3 albums from last year. But then I'm like, well, how many fucking people does it take to make a really good, thoughtful, introspective movie?
Right.
The credits roll at the end.
Yeah.
You know?
I like that.
You know, that's a really good point that I don't think we think about. We're listening to a Kendrick Lamar album, but we have 100 odd people that have helped put it together.
Right.
And we're blaming Kendrick Lamar for everything good or bad.
Well,
but we
I-
don't look at movies and we go, that movie sucked because Brad Pitt's acting wasn't good.
With Kendrick, I think the reason that he is who he is to a lot of us, it's because of his lyrics, and he's the only one writing his lyrics. Nobody's writing his lyrics with him.
That's true.
But I also agree that if some of his beats, if Damn wasn't such a heavily Southern California hip hop album, I probably wouldn't have been as into it. And then who knows if I'd still be as big of a Kendrick Lamar fan as I became because of Damn, which then took me back to like
Yeah.
Pimp a Butterfly, which is one of the greatest rap albums I've ever heard. So I'm not saying production doesn't matter. I'm just saying that he's famous because of his lyricism. What do you think about the first time that Kendrick Lamar fucked a white bitch?
I think that song is written so well. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about JID. He can take this topic that other people talk about, like this is not the first time this has been talked about in a rap album ever, but he brings it to such an introspective and thoughtful place. Ancestors watching me fuck like it's
retaliation for
retaliation.
slavery. I had a
Who
mind
thinks-
of, I would have never thought of a guilt. That's insight that
Yeah.
how the fuck would you have ever even thought of that?
That is so many steps farther into thought. It is mind blowing how deep he goes into the lyrics.
I'm sorry. I don't disagree. I think there is a layer of depth, but there's also, I'll listen to lyrics. I'm like, what are we doing here? I mean, this is fucking absurd
Well,
on a level.
I disagree because some of us do want depth. And some of us don't want might as well jump people.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, like,
Aw.
is it really that deep all the time?
Not necessarily.
I would think that anybody can relate to doing something that is, it seems like a fairly normal thing, you know, having sex with somebody of a different race or whatever. There has to be something like that you've done in your life that all of a sudden all this weird mental shit happened and you're like, where the fuck is this coming from?
Sure. What I'm saying is, on some level, pick a lyric like that. On some level, it's deep. On another level, it's not. As humans, things can have layers. It can be both, right?
I agree with that.
But it is a little like, there are moments where I'm just like, what? Really? Is this lyric right here genius? And I'm not picking on any ones that were. I'm just saying, is it really? Is this whole? I don't know. Does it all have to be genius?
Every time I listen to this album and they get to the part where him and his wife are just screaming at each other, I do that. I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
like,
I think that is the point
is
where
this
I'm just
brilliant?
like, what the
So I do.
what are we doing?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Is it raw? Yes. Is it emotional? Yes. Is it brilliant? Does it have to be?
I'm not saying that every line on this album is brilliant. I'm just saying I think the album is brilliant.
I'm giving it that, but I'm also saying it can be both.
Yeah.
It can be kind of absurd as well.
I agree. And I do, like, I don't love every song on this album.
I just secretly want him to be writing this back in the past, being like, I'm going to make them think that this line is fucking genius.
But that's genius, right? Isn't that?
That is,
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
In defense of We Cry Together, okay, at first, when I really thought about Out of the Woods by Taylor Swift, I was just like, this fucking repetition makes me want to slam my head against the goddamn wall. We Cry Together on chorus, I guess, where they're just saying fuck you back and forth. It feels different. Every line where they're saying the exact same thing feels different.
I mean, sorry, you threw me off having to bringing in fucking 1989 into this bullshit. I also think it's just very refreshing and doesn't ever happen that a rapper actually has a song about how he treated gay family members like shit. And
Right.
it was because of the way he was raised and the church, and now he realizes that it was wrong.
Something I read was talking about how at a point he didn't know that he wanted to release this because he felt like it was too personal, like he was telling family secrets and personal information that was too much. You know, this would be good for my kids to hear one day. This is good to be raw like this. This is,
And also he's making a shit ton of money off of it. So
well, there's that.
yes, release it, man.
He had a
Yeah.
really good
get
album
your
and a
paper,
Pulitzer. He didn't, I mean, I guess you could always have more money, but
Rachel, what's the demographic award?
ooh, great question.
Thanks, I made it myself.
You do great at outlines. I feel like this was a catharsis as well. I mean, maybe it was just for cash money because he knew after Damn that people would just buy it. But it feels,
No way.
I want to believe that it is art that he needed to vomit out of his body. He needed to get it out, and it is for the next generation of his family. It was
totally
probably
is.
for money
I mean,
too.
and does he have a God complex? Yes, he even sings about it. Now he's wearing like a fucking, platinum crown on his head and shit like that.
It's on the
But,
cover of the album. He has a
he's-
crown of
he's-
thorns. Like, yes.
He's 3 steps away from Kanye West. But for now,
Ugh,
we love him.
for now.
For the demographic award for me, I said fuck if I know. I don't know who this is for. All I know is that I personally do think that this is absolutely brilliant.
It's a Festivus for the rest of us. There's airing of grievances, feats of strength, some miracles in there.
James.
We're nearing the holidays.
Staying with you, evil John Paul Jones Award.
The whole point of busting out the spreadsheet was to make fun of how many producers are on there. There's like 24 credited producers, I think.
That's a handful.
But you guys already said remove features from JID's album. I don't know if I can get away with saying remove producers.
Did you think that it was needed to be a little more succinct?
It feels like so disjointed.
So yeah, less producers.
Does it
then.
feel
I think
disjointed
that's-
within the parts? The Big Steppers and there's Mr. Morale.
The whole thing. It's like there's no like this half feels one way and this half feels another. It's just all over the place. Maybe that was his vision.
I don't know.
Why not, David?
I haven't talked to him about it yet. I said broken record, less features. I want less features on it.
Yeah.
Some of these guys are so fucking good. It's like, dude, just leave it to yourself. Why does everybody have to have features on their shit?
For me, John Paul Jones, I said, don't fuck with it. The features on this one didn't bug me. I thought this was great. And I think if you take off producers, you might miss. I didn't feel like it was disjointed. And so I didn't feel like having that many cooks in the kitchen was a bad thing.
I can dig on that.
I want a Rick Rubin produced Kendrick Lamar record.
I don't know that it would be.
It'd be amazing.
I can't even wrap my fucking head
I
around
have no
it.
idea what it would be like.
can't.
It might be garbage.
Who Day, Still Got It, or Sold. For me, this is a beyond Still Got It. I already thought that this guy was probably my favorite rapper currently, and this solidified it. Rachel?
Hondo. Yeah, this guy Fucking rules. Sold.
Now I'm interested to hear Evil's answer on this one.
Mine has to be Houdet because I don't know his previous work well. In
That's
fact,
fair.
I like purposefully went and listened to like, I didn't listen to any full albums, but I went and listened to like what are the top spins on Spotify. I'm like, oh fuck, he is really good.
Yeah.
So I want to go back and listen to some of those other albums.
You would like the other albums more than this one.
I'm sure I would.
Fine Wine or Skunk Beer?
I said fine wine. I think this will age well, and it already has.
For me, it's the exact same thing I said about JID. Every time I listen to it, there's something new. And actually the same thing with the production. This is unique hip hop production too. There are a lot of different things that you don't hear in a lot of hip hop these days. It's very similar to the Forever Story type in that regard. Evil.
It's not Skunk Bear. It's not a fine wine for me. I don't think it's going to age well. I get that it is.
It's a refrigerator vodka.
It's like a really, okay, I'll say this. It's a fine spirit that's in a really large bottle. It's going to have bottle rot every time I go back to it because I'm going to go back to it and I'm just going to be like, this, I don't know.
I'll go right back to you because I already know your answer. I think. Where's the bias, Evil?
My bias is knowing that he's genius and having expectations listening to this thing. And then I'm like, what in the fuck is this? That was my bias.
So it's kind of a negative bias.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I had high expectations and then I listened to it. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't have context for this.
I feel like having come from Damn, having come from a Pulitzer and an album that did so well, you expect it has to be that good or better, or else this guy is not the artist that he says he is. Mm-hmm. There's the bias. Having already been established as a god of rap.
I'm similar. I gotta be biased there for me because I already love this guy. Mm-hmm. And we are told frequently that he's brilliant. So, like, I want to say that there's no bias there. I just love this album, but there's got to be bias there. There has to be.
I'm a little scared at the future for him because I feel like it's going to take a Kanye turn to where it's like he's getting so good and he knows he's so good.
But
and then
he's always been so much more self-aware than Kanye West is.
That's true. And he is more, I think, initially talented than Kanye was. Personally. You could say no.
What's the worst song on this album, Rachel?
Okay, we don't have to talk about it.
Kanye produces his own shit. You know what other rapper does that? None of them.
That's fair.
I know.
That's a fair point. The worst song for me was Crown. I found it to be a little boring comparatively.
To the rest of the album?
Right.
I said N95. I just, it was like the hit. And I don't think it represents the album, being that it's the one that got so popular. I just don't. Sure. This being the popular one kind of misses the point. It doesn't. Evil, what about you?
We cry together. I don't understand.
I can get that. What's your favorite song on it, Evil?
The Heart Part 5.
The Fifth Heart. Mine is Anti-Diaries. I love the content. I love the production. I love the calmness. I also love United in Grief. I love the start of this, but I'm going with Anti-Diaries.
Good choices. I would say for me, Worldwide Steppers, and I think it's the content of it. I thought it was...
That's a great song.
Like we said, to think so far into a topic really shows the talent and shows the art.
That's our second best album of 2022. Shall we get to the best album after our break? We shall. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back, everybody. Hey, Evil, what was all-encompassing decided best album of 2022?
Oh my gosh, it was Motomami by Rosalia. Her third studio album, Released March 18th of 2022. It was recorded across multiple studios in Barcelona, Los Angeles, New York.
Evil, I believe it's pronounced Barcelona.
There it is. Thank you.
No, it isn't here. Including a studio that was just a rented house of hers, dubbed the Motomami house in Miami.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah, this album, so going back to like, I don't want to jump ahead to like the bias award, but
scared.
why? Why are you so scared?
Keep going.
When I found this album, I was just like listening to new music and I heard this sight unseen. I had no idea what it was. It was just like a new release. What in the fuck is this? It was so interesting and fresh. I had never heard anything like it before. And I would just immediately wanted to go back for more. Reggaeton, but it's a mishmash of that I've never heard before. It's so inventive and fresh sounding. I immediately it grabbed me from the jump and I had no context going in. She kind of got her start as a flamenco singer. She's from Catalonia, mostly Spanish. A funny thing about Motomami is she kind of mixes languages in a way to where everybody, whether you're an English speaker or Spanish speaker, everyone's just like, I don't know what the fuck she's saying. The music kind of backs that up. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's so new and inventive and fun and fresh. And I fell in love with it instantly.
So we just did an episode where we had to study Carol G. And before
It was Carol K.
It was Carol K for a little bit. Before I get the listener eye rolls, I know Colombian singer versus Spanish singer. I get that there's a difference. Don't just compare the two. They're both reggaeton. They're reggaeton influenced artists. That's why I'm bringing this up. When we did Carol G, I did not like it. Boring as fuck. And it made me really, really worried after Carol G to go back to this. And it took me all of 4 seconds to be like, no, this is a whole different fucking thing.
It's completely different.
Yeah, it's reggaeton influenced, but it is not reggaeton. It's just something other, man. I'll just say that I've been listening to this for like 2-3 days straight. I don't want to fucking stop. Goddamn, I am completely in love with this album and this woman, Rachel.
I'm happy for you finding
Thanks.
love this late in life.
I know.
I have to say that when I first listened to this album, I was just balls to the wall, fucking loved it. Did feel then, and I still feel now, tired of the sound. It does get a little repetitious and a little
Wrong.
samesies.
Fake news.
I have to say, this is one of a very few albums that the more I listen to it, the less I like it. And so I feel like listening to it again, I kept listening to it, wanting to be like, why did I love this as much as I did? I remember being like,
Holy
number
shit.
one fan.
Okay.
Kind of fell out of love a little bit.
It happens. I don't understand it,
Guardian,
but it
4 out of 5
happens.
stars.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even go into the awards, but yeah, Guardian did give it 4 out of 5.
That's
it
weird.
It won 4 Latin Grammys. It won Best Latin
Yeah.
Rock or Alternative Album. It was nominated for and won a ton of awards.
Yeah.
Smart people
It's
like
true.
it, I guess.
The fuck is that supposed to mean? I'll kill you.
One of the things I love about this album, it's in a language that I don't speak. And so there's this thing in your head there. What the person is saying is just automatically like the most beautiful thing that you can't even fathom.
Sure.
And
Sure.
Chicken teriyaki.
Yeah.
except for maybe.
I love a romance language.
Yeah. What I was initially going to do for this is I was going to sit down and study the translations and study the lyrics. I started doing like one, which it wasn't you can only pay love back with love. The love that is not given, where does it end up? If I find yours, it'll be a debt paid. Like it is romance language type stuff.
Right.
But I was also purposefully picking and choosing, like Versace songs and stuff like that. So I was also listening to it again, opposite of Rachel. Every time I listen to it, I like it more. And so I'm not looking up the lyrics ever. She's going to say whatever the fuck I decide this song is about in my head.
Hentai.
Yeah.
It's like Kvelertak. You're never going to read the Norwegian.
I mean, it's metal. I already
Still
know what
like them?
I
I like that her lyrics are stupid in some of the songs. I like Chicken Teriyaki. It's terrible, but I like the quirky pop. That's part of the mix that I like about it. She's this classically trained singer, but is bringing in all these elements, and some of it's stupid. I love
mean,
it.
maybe that's part. Maybe it's the juxtaposition of these two albums by very thoughtful writers, and then a woman who is I cannot deny how talented she is. She's incredibly musically talented. Doesn't seem to be taking it seriously. And I think maybe studying her with these two other guys, it made me more judgmental.
If I had to
her.
only listen to one of these albums for the rest of my life, I'd throw those other two out so fast.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. I would pick Motomami in a split second.
I feel the same.
This album's amazing. It's so unique. It's so different.
yeah.
Every single song. You're talking about how she was flamenco. Yeah, you see, she does have the chicken teriyaki song. She does have a reggaeton. Like the very first song, the Seoko, is this like dark synth wave reggaeton thing going on, and then she goes into Candy, which is this much more calmer Spanish man, and then she's got the one where you hear the flamenco dancing in the background. Every song on this is a whole different thing except for one, which I'll get into later. This would be like a 10 out of 10 for me if it wasn't for one fucking song.
Really?
Yeah. I think this is fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I do too.
I think that might be more of a guy thing. The one where she's just talking. I'll listen to that fucking 8 Hear Rosalia say Eon Flux. Like, yeah, say that. So let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
Do you like the Karol G album more than this?
I don't know.
Come on. Who are you?
One of your three best friends.
That anybody ever had. The Demographic Award, everybody but you.
It's for you two fuckers, apparently.
Evil. The Demographic Award.
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know who it's for. I don't know anyone else who listens to this. I mean, it won Grammys. It did well, but I literally don't know.
She was on Hot Ones.
She was on Hot
I know,
Ones.
right? She was
She's
on
huge.
Jimmy Fallon. She like, yeah, well, I know, but still, boomers.
No,
like,
yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
I don't know anyone outside of you guys to talk to about it.
Same.
Very much agree with that.
Yeah.
I've dropped it a couple times to people in my life this year that they're like, hey, music guy, what should I listen to? And I'm like, nobody knows who the fuck it is. I'm going to say it's for us, Evil.
Yeah. I'll
You
take
boys.
it. I like it.
John Paul Jones Award, Rachel, what would you change to make this more likable?
I would, how many songs does this have? I would probably cut it a third of it out because it gets a little tiring on the ears. There are very similar beats in a lot of the songs.
I would change one thing about this album, and I will talk about it when we get to the worst song. Evil, what about you?
I have one answer, but I came up with another answer while we were thinking. So the answer that I came up with prior was I found a metal band from Catalonia. I don't know how to pronounce her name. ANKOR, Encore. Modern metal, female singer, female drummer.
Oh, that's nice.
I don't know if the music matches with her. I don't like that answer though. I want to hear her collaborate with System of a Down.
That's fair. You have some really like Grammy style throw
No,
two of the
that's good,
most
though.
opposite people on
Yeah.
stage ideas tonight.
Pepperoni and green mushroom.
Sometimes it works.
Olives, chives, chicken
Chicken
teriyaki.
Yeah. Who Day still got it or sold? I'm sold.
Sold.
Absolutely
Sold. So sold.
Rachel, what about you?
I think I want to listen to her other albums.
How many does she have?
Two more. Yeah, there's two more. I don't know if I'm worried, but I haven't been blown away by the stuff she's released since this album.
Oh, I haven't listened to anything she's come out with.
Oh,
since.
she did do that collab with her.
Yeah, which was
Ex-boyfriend.
that
was not great.
Like
Bezos
more of
or
like the
whatever?
slower stuff, and then she has the track with Bjork, which I only was able to find like a cappella.
Oh,
Yeah,
That was garbage.
If she continues doing experimental stuff, I'm all in.
Well, Rachel, fine wine or skunk beer?
Okay. I said skunk beer. Here's why.
I mean,
I think we saw that coming. We all did. I don't think it's going to stand the test of time. I did find some stuff where people aren't huge fans of her because of a little bit of feeling of musical appropriation because she is not, she's from Catalonia. She's not Spanish Romani people. The same thing with the use of the reggaeton, that's not her people, even though her dad is like part Cuban or whatever.
let's talk about this in 3 weeks.
There's
Because I have things I want to say that I'm not going to say
Okay.
right now.
Why are you so mad?
Because that's fucking ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, but I don't know how people are going to evolve in canceling other people for doing anything that is not pure of their ethnic blood.
I know some other people who thought like that before.
Yeah. Any sort of we can't go live.
So Rachel says skunk beer, fine wine. This shit gets better every time I hear it. It's probably going to be all over my end of year Spotify thing because I'm going to listen to it for a fucking month now. Evil.
It is a fine Priorat, which is a Catalonian red wine.
It's a fine
Good call.
sangria.
Yeah.
So I'm going back to you because you kind of already talked about it, Evil. Where's the bias?
I had zero bias going into this. It won me over from the jump, sight unseen. Like I said, I agree with all the smart Grammy Award
They're so
giver
smart.
outers. Yeah, so smart.
Rachel?
I agree. I don't think for any of us, I mean, now Evil has the Grammy knowledge, but I don't think any of us came in with any bias, not really knowing who she was before this.
I would go even deeper the other way. When this was on our What Did We Miss, I think?
Yeah.
I postponed this one. This was I do not want to fucking listen to this. Like just the album cover, I'm not going to, and I was fucking floored. So
Yeah.
Rachel, what's the worst song on this album?
I'm very excited to see both of your faces because I picked two songs that I did not like. A, B, C, D, E, F, G was
That's understandable.
entirely for the lyrics. Like it was just boring and stupid. And then I said chicken teriyaki is just really silly. I don't know.
I don't hate those answers.
I don't know that I hate the song, but I thought it was so silly. And I think I just got tired after a while. And I know that it's like peppy and funny and whatever, but I don't know.
You're
Those are my picks.
real fun lately.
Thank you.
Evil. What's the worst song on this album?
I also said chicken teriyaki.
Really?
But it's also one of my favorites, even though it's stupid.
So it's just
I
silly.
love that.
But I like dumb stuff. Fight me.
No, you're terrifying.
So there's one thing that I do not like about this album.
Go on.
There's a feature on song number 3, La Fama, where The Weeknd
Yeah.
I love the
is
weekend.
I do too. He does not belong anywhere near this. When his voice starts singing, it's like fucking nails on a chalkboard. Takes you out of the fucking album. And that's my least favorite song because of that.
Okay.
Would you like that song if he wasn't on it?
It'd probably be one of my least favorites still,
Okay.
but it wouldn't be like, I can't even skip.
You wouldn't hate
It would be so
Yeah.
obvious that you hated it.
Yes. But going to my favorite song, which this is, I could throw a dart at 5 of them. I am going Como un G. It's just fucking beautiful. It is a beautiful song. And I very, very much love it. But there are Sayoko, Hentai, Motomami, Sakura. There's so many songs on this I love. Evil, what about you?
I love many of the songs on here, but the one that hooked me initially, and I still think is one of the best songs on the album, is the opener, Soko.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's like this dark reggaeton thing, but it's not
That
reggaeton.
bass beat is so heavy.
It's its own thing.
Yeah.
I was just like, I was flummoxed by that song when I heard it the first time. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I want to hear it again so I can figure it out. And I still feel that way about it. And I've listened to it countless times at this point.
Rachel, what's your favorite song?
I said hentai.
That's a good song.
It's so beautiful.
It really is.
And it really shows her vocal talent. I really enjoyed that one.
That is Motomami by Rosalia, not Lita.
Rosalia.
Callback.
Yeah. Do you stand by the fact that these are the 3 best albums of 2022?
I think we did great. I think we are 3 of the smartest people on this podcast.
True.
I would replace Motomami,
With?
Denzel Curry. But then
Okay.
you have 3 rap albums. And that seems silly. And that's fine. But those are, I was looking back. I absolutely would take Rosalia off this, but then I was trying to find something to replace it with. And I can't believe I forgot about Denzel Curry.
I'm standing by these. I'm standing by I'm actually really, really pleased with 1, 2, and 3. Evil, what would you do? What would you do?
I feel obligated since I'm the lone dissenter.
You're taking off Kendrick Lamar and you're adding the Ants from Up There by Black Country New Road, right?
Was that last year? Oh my God.
Yes, then. Yes, he would do that.
I feel like I've hated that album for 100 years. Ty, Soul Glow, and Jockstrap.
Interesting. Okay.
You motherfucker. I was going to be like so mad at you for taking one away, but those are great albums.
Yep.
It'd be a good conversation to have, and we don't have to have it really ever. So, in your face, listeners. Those were our 3 best albums of 2022. I'm happy. I think we did quite well.
I mean, I could have went with Chat Pile, but
I saw that.
You didn't really like it.
no.
Hey, everybody, join us next week. You know what we have next week? What did we miss this year? That's right. We're talking 20 albums.
So many albums.
It's going to be a bloodbath. Are we covering one of the ones that we haven't covered yet that you're like, why the fuck aren't you guys covering it? Find out next week. VerseCourseVerse.com at VerseCourseVersePod. Rachel,
David.
selling all your Motomami stock, I guess.
Not all of it. I know I like I said, I'm very aware that I am not on the public opinion side of what's good and what's bad.
Evil. Go listen to Damn.
That was a Ric Flair callback from the beginning of the podcast, folks.
Oh, I was there.
Yeah.
Everybody take it easy. We'll see you next week. Good night and good luck.
Oh, I wanna stay right by your side. 'Cause you and me, we fit together naturally.